God.
Amen.
But now this man that we read about has a whole life story that we ain't that's not recorded in that book. All we know about that man is he was possessed, and everybody else didn't want him. They tried to control him. They tried to bind him. They tried to chain him down. They've even tried to get rid of him because now he's living in the cemetery among the tombs. But nothing that they could do would help this man. Nothing that they had ever tried to do could help this man. But now we read that a man of God, that Jesus himself steps out on the seacoast that day, and the man come out of the tombs and immediately knew something was different about the man on the shore. This ain't like the priest down the road. This ain't like the physician down the road that don't know what's wrong. This ain't like mom and daddy that kicked me out when I was little. This ain't like mama and papa that don't want nothing to do with me anymore. This man's different. Sarah, can you come play something on piano, please? I know this has been short and I know you're tired. You say, I ain't that bad yet. I ain't nowhere near that bad yet. I know you ain't. And I never go into detail with any of you about what things in my life wound up being. I don't feel like talking about it. And I know you wouldn't have confidence in me if I did. I know for a fact you would. And there's only a few people on this earth that are walking around that know exactly the deepest dark secrets of my past. And my wife, being a saint that she is, thank God that she stayed with me. And if you'll play when you get something. But I never dreamed as sitting on the back pew that my life would wind up the way that it did. See, the great thing about you is you got mom and daddies that bring you down here. I didn't have that. Church fan would roll up about 6 o'clock on Wednesday night, and they'd blow the horn. I'd get off the computer. We'd cut the TV off. I'd do whatever we was doing. I'd stop it, and I'd run and get on the church van. That's the way my church life was. Mom and daddy in and out a few times, but it really didn't amount to anything. You see, your job matters even if you're the band driver. I remember saying all the time, God, I won't do it no more. God, I won't do it no more. I'd go to the altar and I'd pray, and that'd be the end of it. Service be over with. I go back to doing what I was doing. Church family drop me off. I go back to living the life that I was living, been around the friends that I'd been around. I had a mama and papa that come down, and I'd get to drawing things. I used to really be able to, good artist, drawing skulls and crossbones and all kinds of stuff. And my papa look at my daddy and say, that's evil. He don't need to be drawing that kind of wicked stuff. But what you said, the influence that you're around will kill you if you ain't careful. You see, whenever I got saved, I was in a church that was about 40 people, and 10 of it was only adults, and the rest of us was young people. We went everywhere to sing revival. And I really have felt my first love was Jesus Christ in that little church. But even you can find wrong friends in the church house. You can find people in the church house that will convince you to do this or convince you to go that way or sway you this way or sway you that way. I've even said in my church, be careful who you date in the church because before you know it, you'll break up and then the youth choir split up. That church was broken up because of us young people intermeddling around with each other, and then we didn't want to have nothing to do with each other when it was done with, and the pastor had to leave. And that church is still broke up because the influence that we allowed around us. I believe that some of you tonight have got an influence around you that mom and daddy knows that that's wrong. Mom and daddy told you that it's wrong. Maybe you're an adult, maybe your children are the ones that's pleading your case, and they're telling you that it's wrong, but it doesn't get through your skull because what you're doing is pleasant and it's easy for right now. I was 18-year-old, 17-year-old. I'm colorblind. A lot of you probably know that. Everybody picks at me about it. Even my oldest boy does at times. Daddy, what color is this? Daddy, what color is this? Son, I really don't know. Go ask your mama. But I love to deer hunt. Anytime I shot a deer, Brother Jay, if it rained the night before, you can go ahead and count me out. I touched every spot of water from here all the way down to the river and still couldn't find no blood. My daddy would treat me as a 16-year-old boy. He'd treat me like a little 5-year-old. And we'd go here and we'd find blood. He'd say, stand still and don't move because you're going to kick the leaves over. Now I can't find it. When I was 17 years old, my daddy got cancer. My best friend in the entire world. The reason that I am the man I am today, of course, Jesus Christ. But the reason that I am the man I am today is because of my daddy. I remember at times him working 3 jobs to put food on the table. But sometimes didn't even see him until dark because he was putting food on our table, Walter. If we wasn't working together or fishing together or hunting together, we was sleeping. My best friend in the entire world. There'll come a day, Daddy was a proud man. Didn't want to go to the hospital. Nobody knew it, but he had been passing blood. He had a tumor in his colon for probably 3 or 4 months. Finally, it got to where he had to do something about it. And I remember the trip that when my daddy called me, I was getting breakfast, about to go into school. And he said, son, I need you to come home and get me now and take me to the doctor. I pulled up the driveway, and he stumbled, a 40-year-old man, stumbled into the van, in the vehicle, holding himself up with a house. And he sat down, and he started crying. And he said, son, I've got cancer, and you're the first one that knows about it. 17-year-old, I had to muster up enough strength to put my truck in first gear and change gears all the way 45 minutes to the hospital or to the doctor's office. And he made me promise that I would take care of my mama, and that I'd take care of my brother, and I'd take care of my sister. And he made me promise that I would be there no matter what. Just say, I'm going somewhere. Just a few months before my daddy died, I remember him. He called us into his room, and he had his Bible. He called us into the room, and he said, are you okay with me dying here? And I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm dying. Are you all right with me dying here? And I said, I reckon so. And he said, what's the preacher's number? And I gave him the number of the preacher. And I remember here, I can't remember if I stood out by the door just listening or if I was in the room. But I remember him calling the man of God, and he said, please tell me a verse that I can read that'll take my pain away. I never met a man with as much faith as just saying the word of God would take the pain away. It wasn't too long, and he was gone. And I was stayed by his bedside whenever he took his last breath. And I remember saying to his ear, Daddy, I've got this under control. If you want to go ahead and go, I've got this under control. I was in my friend at the time, my best friend in the world at the time, had done got saved at this church that I had mentioned to you before. And he had been begging me and pleading with me and bugging me and getting on my nerves about coming. And I finally cussed him out a few times. I told him, gave him down the road a few times, but he never stopped pleading with me. He never stopped being on my case. He never stopped calling me. And I finally gave in. And I went that night. And the song that y'all sung the other night about the woman with the issue of blood, when she pressed through the crowd, they started singing that song. And it struck a chord on the inside of me. And I come to the altar. Actually, I would tell you a lie. I don't want to tell you a lie. I sat in the pew crying and bawling my eyes out, and a man come, and he got me by under the arms like this. And he said, let's go to the altar. And we went down to the altar, and a big weight was lifted up off of my shoulders. We was in a revival, and I said all that to say this. My pastor was in a revival. Clifton McCurry was in a revival. And I went down to the altar to pray. And the first time God ever spoke to me, the words He said was, it took me taking the most precious thing out of your life to open up your eyes. That's a hard pill to swallow. Thinking that I lived such a wretched life that God had to go to such extreme measures to get a hold of me. Don't think that it can't happen to you. How many of you boys love your daddy? Be honest with me. How many of you boys love your daddy? How many of you mommies? How many of you women love your mama? I give anything in the world to have my daddy back for one church service. Brother Jason, one church service. Because he said before he left, I want to see you all in heaven. Make me the promise that I'll see you in heaven one day. One church service I'd give all the money that I've ever made away, and we'd go live in we'd go back and live in the camper that we used to live in, just for me to be in one service with him. But what's done is done, and I can't get it back now. And you ain't going to get back what you'll get, what God takes from you. Whenever God cripples you, you'll never fly the same. When God breaks your leg, you'll never walk the same. When God takes it out of your life or takes the thing away from you that you cherish the most, it'll never be back. No matter how hard you pray, no matter how hard you fast, no matter how low you get, it'll never be there. Let me tell you how it looks now. Then it was pretty rough. But I can stand and say that I thank God that He did what He did. Because now my babies have got hope. Now my babies, we pray with them every night. And now my babies ask us to read the Bible story before we go to bed. Now my babies know what it's like to live in a Christian home. He said, despise not the chastening of the Lord. I despised it for a while, Jason. I hated it for a while. Why did He take my daddy away from me? I mean, as a 17-year-old boy, I had to figure things out on my own after that. Until I met Dale Wheeler. He kind of guided me in the right direction. Every head bowed and every eye closed. I know this kind of took a different direction than I started. But I